How have you been doing? Have you been safe and well? How are your loved ones? Last year has been unprecedented for everyone, no matter where you live. I hope that this podcast will bring you some peace and joy, where I'm sharing with you what I love the most apart from my family and my job, and that is knitting. Here and there, you will see other things that make me happy and that I would like to share with you. Going to farmers market, cooking, baking, gardening. In general, all these forgotten, slow, mundane things that in its repetitive simplicity bring meaning to our days, peace to our mind, and grounding to our body. So please find a comfortable corner to sit. Make yourself a hot or cold drink as you please. Take your knitting in your lap and join me in my woolly adventures. Hello everyone, my name is Selma and this is podcast about knitting. It's called Whisk and Purl, the same as is my account on Instagram. You can also find me on Ravelry, but I'm not as active there, and I hope to finish my website soon. If you followed my previous episodes, you can notice that there is a very large gap between my last episode that was filmed sometime in November. It has been a while since I filmed last time, and this was a very intense period for me with lots of work, lots of calls, lots of learning and growth. So I was not able to focus on podcast filming. I know that there is some pressure to do podcasts very often, not to lose viewers. The same thing applies to Instagram, where we are supposed to post literally every day or multiple times a day to beat the algorithm and make people see our posts. But overall, that's not really good for our mental health, and I just want this to be part of my passion, and I want this to be a healthy activity for you and for myself. So I will be filming whenever I have time, and I will be posting whenever I have time, and I hope you will follow me nevertheless. So as I said, there has been a lot going on in the meantime. First, I moved from the cottage where I was living to a different apartment so that it can accommodate both mine and my husband's needs, including working from home, especially for him, as I usually go to hospital, so the pandemic hasn't changed a lot for me in this sense. Over the last several months, lots of people that we knew in the past, especially of my parents' generation, unfortunately have passed away. Also lots of like public figures and singers and important people for my childhood unfortunately passed away due to COVID-related illness back home. So we have been also kind of coping with all these losses, which made this period kind of challenging in many ways. So now, as we are settling down in the new apartment, I have started my own garden, which I enjoy very much. It provides me lots of happiness, and it's the most important mindful activity apart from knitting in my daily life. I have sown lots of herbs and veggies. Some of them are growing nicely. Unfortunately, some of them are not growing so nicely. But I understand this process as learning, and yeah, next year will be better. Nevertheless, I enjoy spending time with my little plants and watch them growing, and hope we will be able to eat some of their fruits. So I have also been listening lots of books lately, mostly Elena Ferrante and everything that she has written so far, Rumple as well, and I have enjoyed both of these authors very much, and I highly recommend reading them. I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but if you like reading about lived experience of being a woman, I think it's a good literature for you. The new thing in my life is that I actually started designing, which is a little bit interesting. As I go, I'm discovering how complex knitwear designing actually is, but also how satisfying. And you can see the first product of these activities. This is a cowl, relaxed cowl that is called Shawl, because it reminds me on the first flowers in the spring. So I will show you a little bit more. So it is two-sided, so you can wear it on both sides, or you can adjust to any part of the chart you like, and as you prefer. It is quite relaxed and very soft for the neck. It's knitted in lightweight fingering wool. I was using biche. I hope I'm pronouncing this well. Biche Le Petit Lamb's wool and Le Cashmere, as well as the third yarn, which was their Le Petit Silk Mohair. So basically there are two colorways of fingering weight one and one colorway of lace weight. And I really like the result. It was very pleasurable to design in this yarn. It was supposed to be tested 2 months ago. Unfortunately, I was not able to finalize the pattern to send it to my testers. I hope to be able to finish it in following days. So fingers crossed that you will be able to have this pattern sometime in late August, September maybe, or yeah, maybe September sounds like a more realistic timeline. I'm drinking honey kombucha from the glass that I borrowed from my husband. It is his beer glass, and it is very refreshing as it has been very warm here, and it was quite hot wearing this, so I will put it on the side and I will show you the next thing that I have designed during this period. So the next thing I have designed is this interestingly constructed sweater with turtleneck collar and embroidery on the back. I will not tell you more about the construction because I want to experiment a little bit more before I make it into a pattern that will be tested. There are some things that I'm not super happy about how they look like right now, so I want to try to experiment and maybe fix these pieces of garment and kind of like make the construction fit better, and then I will send it to test knitters and hopefully it will be available to you. I was using a very beautiful yarn which is actually Shipui knits yarn. I held it double, it's Fern, it's 100% organic cotton. It's incredibly soft, and I'm not a great fan of cotton yarn because it usually kind of elongates as you knit, so the final product is always very different from the one you expect to have. But this one doesn't have these properties. It is also very comfortable, and it's actually kind of really... So my camera is a little bit weird and it usually films like in small increments, so it just stopped in the middle of my last sentence. I just wanted to finish talking about the second the second object that I have designed, and it's I gave it a very funny name, which is Shadow of a Birch Tree on a Quiet Midsummer Night. Of course, this name doesn't work really well. It's too long, although it's nice and whimsical. So I would highly appreciate if you can share some of your ideas for the sweater design, and you can put it below in the comments. And let's see. I'm really interested to hear like what ideas you would have and what names would come up to your mind. So that's about this sweater. I mean, I have lots of finished objects in the meantime, but I'm not going to show you all of them, not to overwhelm you, as I haven't filmed for months. The first one that I would like to show you is Atrium Pullover. It's the piece I wear right now. It is designed by Bernice Lim, or Yamagara on Ravelry and Instagram. Atrium Pullover is knitted in the round, and the yoke is shaped with German rose. Then it's knitted flat to allow for armholes, and then you knit them again in the round. So basically the pattern has several options for the sleeves, and I opted for a sleeveless version because then I can use it both as a top and as a vest, on top of other shirts or tees. What I really like with Bernice designs is that they are usually in fingering weight. As I live in California, it's usually too warm to wear worsted weight sweaters, and I wear worsted weight sweaters only if I go to the mountains or camping, but at home or like here in the Bay Area, you can wear them very rarely, only for maybe a month or 2 months in the winter. So I prefer garments that are knit in fingering weight. And for this one, I again use the same yarn that I used for my Sheila design, and it is this Bish a Bush yarn. I hope camera is focusing. It's one of my favorite yarns, like both the lamb's wool without cashmere, but also the version with cashmere, which gives it even more like softness, and is like really pleasurable to wear. This piece is also very versatile, so I have worn it to my work, I have worn it at home. I knitted slightly cropped version so that I can wear it, for example, with long dresses or jumpsuits, and I'm really happy how it turned out. So I'm now going to take it off because it's like really warm. I hope you don't mind. And I'm going to grab other finished objects. So the next finished object is these beautiful shanty socks that are designed by Morgan from Knitting Nelly. This was also test knit, So what I really liked is that we were allowed to like make actually only one sock and then the second sock later. As it turned out to be very warm afterwards, somehow like my sock knitting went to the background, but I still need to knit a second sock of this pair. I really appreciate that Morgan designed XS version of the sock, because most socks that I knit from other patterns are too large for me, for example, and they don't fit me well, and I always have to hack the pattern and then like count the number of stitches, make sure that the pattern works for my number of stitches. So Morgan has done it all for us, and I'm super happy because this one fits perfectly. The yarn that I used is, I mean, you can probably guess. So what do you think? Who created this yarn? Yes, that's Viola and the Moon. You probably already know that she's one of my favorite yarn dyers, and I can't remember exactly what's the name of the colorway for this yarn, but it is incredibly lovely. It's like a beige with lots of specks in rust and purple and black and blue. So when you knit it, it turns out like this, really lovely. So that's my second finished object. The next finished object is this lovely chunky Magnolia sweater, and I think that you can also guess in which yarn it was knitted. 1, 2, 3. Yes, you're right, it was knitted in Nuttiden yarn in colorway Enlightenment. And I knitted it in 2 strands of Nuttiden, holding it with a strand of silk mohair by Viola and the Moon in acorn colorway. So I'm quite obsessed by all Magnolia sweaters designed by incredibly talented Camilla Vad from Denmark. And unfortunately, as I said, like making chunky sweaters doesn't make much sense for me because I just don't get to wear them. It's simply too warm here to be able to use them fully. So I decided to change the gauge, and as I said, I was knitting it in 2 strands of Nuttiden and 1 strand of silk mohair with needles number 4, and I believe that original pattern calls for maybe 7mm needles. So I had to change also the number of stitches, especially when it comes, I knitted like much larger size, so in terms of width it was fine, but I had to change the number of stitches in terms of length. So it turned out well. I was already wearing it when we were at the mountain. The only problem, so my camera did it again, and that was chunky Magnolia. I really like it. I like knitting with Nuttiden yarn. It's just simply gorgeous to knit with. The next finished object is Dorothy West. So it's a little bit larger than I want it to be, so I wanted slightly oversized vest, but also the gauge was a little bit different from the original one, so I ended up in having a quite large vest. I mean, it fits good, and I like how squishy and soft it is. And I like this springish color, kind of like yellowish green. But if I'm knitting it a second time, I would opt for a smaller size, definitely. I also experimented a little bit with the color, and this is the result. And I attached one of the she-feeling brushes that I got from my very dear friend as a gift. I know that my friend appreciates privacy very much, so I will not name this friend of mine, but just will say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your sweet gifts and love that you sent this way. She knows who she is. So yeah, this is Dorothy sweater. It's designed by Gregoria Fibers, and the yarn that I was using is one of my favorite yarns. It comes from Twirl Farm, Twirl Yarn. It's the colorway is called Mrs. Sprout's Olives, and it's actually a mix of alpaca, mohair and wool. This is a local yarn. It's part of Fiber Shed, which is basically sort of association of farmers that are trying to produce like natural, organic, local fibers. Lots of farms are part of Fiber Shed here in California, and what I really like is to follow Twirl Yarn on Instagram and to see how their animals live and how they enjoy being like free range and well taken care of, and yeah, it really means a lot that you know that animals are treated humanly and nicely. What I'm holding in my hand is this pouch, very cute one. That is made by North Willow company, and I actually saw it on Mel's Instagram. I saw the tote bag and the pouch and just decided to buy exactly the same tote and the same pouch because I find it like really cute for my notions and like other knit stuff that I keep here. A little break. I'm talking too much. I wish this is a two-sided process so that we can chat it instead of me just talking into camera. This kombucha is amazing. So, apart from finished objects, I also have some works in progress. One of them I cannot show you because it is secret test knit, but I have been enjoying it very much over the last several days, and I keep it in this lovely bag by Wool and Nature. I don't know how familiar you are with Claire's products. Claire lives in France and she dyes fabric, in this case linen, with botanical dyes that she makes personally, and then she paints on these bags, and they all have kind of like nature inspired illustrations and design. So she makes project bags, but also like tea towels, postcards, and I love her work. I really do. And I have her tea towel, the beautiful one with like flowers and birds, botanically dyed and painted. I have it in my bedroom, and it's so calming to just like sleep in the same room with these beautiful ornaments. So yeah, this is my work in progress, and imagine what it's being knitted in pigeon bush, lamb's wool and cashmere. For a change, I haven't knitted with this yarn in a while. And my second work in progress is Shawl by Moonstruck Knits. I hope that I'm pronouncing this name well. So it is just the first section of it, shaped with German short rows, and I'm knitting it in this wonderful squishy sheepy daughter of a shepherd anniversary yarn. I managed to buy it from Farm to Cable Knits, a Canadian yarn shop that I heard of in the Gentle Knitter Wonderful Nicole's podcast that I passionately follow. She's one of my like role models for knitting and podcasting, and my great wish is to be able to meet her in person. Yeah, I'm knitting it in this lovely yarn, and it was so funny. Like for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks actually, we were fostering a friend's dog. Her name is Bonnie, and she's a wonderful dog that comes from, like, her ancestors were a Labrador, Greyhound, Australian Shepherd. She's 11 years old, and she was a wonderful guest, very quiet, and like loves to cuddle, and really lovely dog. And one day I was at work and my husband was working like in the other room, and she normally was not particularly interested in my yarn, but when I arrived home that day, I found her with two yarns, like out of like all of my stash. One was the Tiden yarn, and the other one was Daughter of a Shepherd. I believe that she was very attracted by like sheepy smell of these two yarns, and yeah, so Bonnie approves Daughter of Shepherd. I hope to, so I started now test knitting a different project, but when I finish I will come back to this one. Keeping this project, so I'm keeping this project Shawl in this lovely bag by Knitting Nelly. I think that most of people on YouTube and Instagram know her lovely bags. I'm a great fan, and I like this particular one because like the colors are a little bit muted, more than usual, and I have been even wearing it as a kind of purse when going out, and yeah, you can also use it in this way as well. So what I want to show you next are my yarn acquisitions. So I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to grab a book that I bought recently. The book that I bought is, of course, 52 Weeks of Shawls. Honestly, this was one of the best knitting books I have ever seen in terms of design. Usually when I buy books or magazines, although I really love to have like magazines and books and to be able to touch them and smell them and knit from them, like from the patterns published there. It's usually like one or two designs that I like in particular and want to have for myself. However, in this book, it's for sure like 40 out of 25 that I want to knit for myself or as a gift. And I can see even like the other like 12 not in myself, but like knitted as a gift to a friend. So I really like this book. It's just gorgeous. And I don't know, but like I with like knitting magazines, the other thing that I like about them is their smell. They really smell lovely, and this is one of the designs that I really like. So it's from Fiber Tales, Larke, that is just like an amazing artist designed this shawl. So yeah, that is the book, and I just want to give a big shout out to the yarn shop where I bought this book. It's called Rumple Stiltskin, and it's located in Sacramento. And they took such a great care to pack this book in the way so that it doesn't damage during the like travel in the post office. And also I was like totally surprised and like positively surprised when I received a call from the shop apologizing that it will be a little bit late because like the postman didn't like take the packages in time. And I was like, wow, what a customer service. So in terms of yarn acquisitions, I'm not going to show all of the yarn that has arrived to this address over the last several months, because it would probably require another episode. I will just show you the yarn that I'm very kind of emotionally attached to, and this is yarn made by created by lovely Melanie Asato, who until recently lived in the US and then moved to Japan, and I think this was made just before her move to Japan, and is called Bento Box collection. So this one is Nori, and I ordered them in like Peruvian paste that is non-superwash. This one is tamago. This one is onigiri, and this one is nori again. So what I'm thinking to make from this yarn is probably udo sweater, most likely, although I'm not like 100% sure. I also have some like design ideas, so it might be something like surprising, a new design maybe, but it will for sure be like my next knitting project until after I finish what I have already show you. So the one thing that I would also like to discuss with you is I have noticed that during the last year I was very overwhelmed by all of the yarn, all of the patterns that were available, that I end up like starting several projects and not being able to finish any of them. And I just realized that I was probably much happier in the times when I had only 1 or 2 projects on the needles, and when I was focusing on only one project, and also not stashing yarn, but like thinking about the yarn I want to this particular project, and buying a yarn like purposefully for this project. So my decision for the next year is to be more mindful in the way I buy yarn, in the way I choose patterns, in the way I design things. Just to always bear in mind, like, do I really need this? Am I going to wear this? Sometimes we are attracted by patterns that are like hype, or they look interesting, but they are not a good fit for us, and we spend so much time like knitting and investing in this project that at the end happens just to be left in our closets with a company of moths and no one else. So I really hope that in the next year I will try to use what I have already more mindfully, and also if I'm going to buy yarn to be more mindful about buying. Thank you so much for bearing with me during this episode. It was great to see you. I'm always happy to read your comments. I don't always respond to them because I simply don't have time to respond to them all, but I do appreciate them, and I love to hear where you are, what are you doing, what are you knitting, and I'm looking forward to reading all of them. Wish you all a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye!